What is up, my friends? Welcome to another episode of the Whole Health with Rob Carney podcast. So, this is a platform to connect with and share the stories of health professionals, personal development leaders, and health entrepreneurs who are making an impact in the world. So, today we got my brother, Lee Maasen, and Lee is a holistic lifestyle coach from Nashville, Tennessee. He is the CEO and owner of Elu Method, an online weight loss, muscle building, and lifestyle transformation company that creates custom programs based on the individual's needs and goals. So he was motivated by a tragic event where his older brother was murdered, and then his life began to spiral out of control, becoming addicted to alcohol and drugs. He soon lost his collegiate baseball scholarship and hit rock bottom. So Lee set out on a mission to become the best version of himself and empower others in the process. So Lee is incredibly talented. He's got a lot of certifications, such as Chek HLC1, the Weck Method Qualification, Functional Range Conditioning, International Sports Science Association, and Gymnastics Strength Training. So each experience has been a stepping stone of learning and growth, which has led to the next phase. So in 2016, Lee tore his serratus anterior, the shoulder blade muscle, and rehabilitated himself through body weight training, body weight strength training. So after mastering the art of strength training, Lee learned that strength in any adaptation that occurs within the body. So this includes new thoughts, new emotions, new muscles, and more. So this is where Lee created the holistic fitness system within his company, Elu Method, that is revolutionizing the fitness industry itself. Brother Lee, thank you for being here.
Man, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you. This has been a long time coming, and we've been chatting about having a big chat like this. So I'm excited to dive in, my friend.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I'm on the Whole Health podcast, gonna reach the world, change the world, revolutionize everything, man. It's time.
It is time, brother. So I'd love to have you start just by sharing a little bit about your story, because I think that, obviously you've had some challenges in your life, which many of the people in our position of health and wellness and personal development, it started with that great pain teacher that Mr. Paul Chek talks about. So I'd love to just kind of have you share your story of what got you into health and, where you are today.
Yeah. So we'll start from the top, man. So, my story is unique to me. Everybody has a unique story. Everybody's had pains, trials, tribulations, and this is just my story. And I really hope this resonates with a lot of your followers. So it started, I was an athlete. I played baseball, basketball, football. I was successful. I'm an athletic guy, and I'm very kinesthetically intelligent, meaning like I listen to my body. So when I was 19, I had a full baseball scholarship to a junior college, which isn't anything crazy, but it is considering that they signed me with a completely torn ulnar collateral ligament, and I was actually getting paid to go to school. I was being paid $5,500 a year with my books paid, apartment paid, everything was paid for me to go to school. And in baseball, that's unheard of to get a full scholarship like that. You get that in football, but baseball is like partial scholarships, this and that. So the reason that ended up happening was because of the elbow injury, which before that, I was being recruited by like Ole Miss, UT, Knoxville, and like MTSU, some of these like bigger Division I baseball schools. And that happened, tore my UCL, and they were gone. Right. So that was kind of like the first psychologically challenging endeavor I had to overcome. So I ended up going to junior college, and already in this like mental headspace of like, damn, like here I'm at a junior college, which my teammates were great. I love my teammates, and the coaches were good as well. But then the first year, my brother, just like we said in the bio, was actually murdered. And I can talk about this now, and it's just kind of a part of the whole story was years of just anger, dude, just so mad. And even to this day, we still don't actually know who did it. Like, so there is whoever did it still out there. His case went from being a traffic accident to the #1 murder case for TBI in the state of Tennessee. And it's still an open case today. So we still have no idea. So when that happens, I didn't even tell my teammates. Like I didn't tell anybody. I just internalized everything, and it just ate me away. Basically started just partying, just trying to evade real emotions, through drugs, alcohol, just partying, not going to class. I went to class. It was just like I went to class on like 2 or 3 hours of sleep and slept in class. Like I went to school. I just didn't do any work when I was there. So long story short, I didn't perform like baseball, like terrible performance, played like shit. Dropped out of college, well, flunked out is a better term, lost the scholarship. And for years, man, bounced around from job. Literally, I worked construction. I worked in factories. I worked at a dog food plant. I served at Applebee's, like I had mastered all these things, but it was the real root problem was that like I never actually faced head on what I had to deal with. I was just mad. I was just so mad. And what got me through all of that was training. Like that was the only thing that got me through, because the whole day would be miserable. And then I would go and I would work out and I would do a bunch of cool stuff. And that was like the only time in my day where like I was not thinking, like I was just in myself, meditative, it's just a meditative experience. So for me, movement is like a spiritual thing. It's something I totally respect. I respect movement in all forms, doesn't matter what it is. Bodybuilding, CrossFit, powerlifting, gymnastics, hand balancing, like sprinting, running, whatever it is, like all forms of human movement are just amazing to me. Like to just move through this space. So movement's what got me through. And in the process, it was really a blessing to flunk out, because it allowed me to intuitively like search for the things that I was interested in, and that came down to Paul Chek, the Chek Institute. It came down to joint specialization, because I tore my serratus anterior, which if people don't know what that is a main stabilizer muscle in the shoulder. Like that's a big deal. If you tear that, you're in big time trouble. And I did. So then that got me into body weight strength training, which got me into gymnastics strength training, which then got me into hand balancing, and got me into, the Weck Method, just all these different movement modalities, and just such a student, man. I was just like so high on life, learning all these new things. And within all of that, I really began to realize and take the things that are true and real and leave the things that don't, like the Ido Portal method. He's a generalist. So he takes the things that works and he finds to be true and doesn't use the things that don't. So that's essentially what I've done through that whole process, is through movement, meditation, spiritual awakening within my soul, everything about me. And I'm still, I'm able to talk about things like my brother now, who's my older brother, which was super life-changing, to basically create the Elu Method, and through all of that to empower the world. I feel like that's what the world needs. The world needs more people to give love and show them like, hey, being strong is cool. Like being strong is fun. Like it's really fun to be able to do some dope shit out there with your body. Like that's some fun stuff. I genuinely enjoy that. But that's kind of like a brief Clip Notes version, man. It's like just going through all these trials, and we're talking like, dude, like 6 years of this, of just finally enough's enough. And like, God's like, Lee, it's time. It's time for you to make your impact on the world, to help some people, share your message.
I love it, brother. Yeah. And I like what you said there, that's 6 years. I think that it's very easy for people to want instant results, instant gratification. And most of the time that just isn't the case, because usually it takes us really getting down to that rock bottom point before we can bounce back up. And, I think part of what both you and I are here to share is that we don't want other people to have to hit that rock bottom before they get back up, because you've been there, I've been at some rock bottoms, and it's a challenge to get that far. So if we can, give people some little cues, some say, hey, you're going down this path. Hey, watch out for that demon that's behind that door, kind of give them those little hints. And I think that's something, as a holistic lifestyle coach, it's like, it shows that all these things are connected. Like you said, your emotional challenges, the anger, not facing probably the sadness in there as well, the sadness and anger in there. And then when you're able to face that, all these other doors start opening up. And it's crazy how all this stuff works together. And, one thing I do want to dive into is, what does Elu Method mean? Because I think that's a cool piece that you told me about before that I want to have you share with the audience.
Yeah. So Elu Method is a Native American term for beautiful, because through my studies, I just love the Native Americans and their philosophy, their vision on life, and how they respected Earth, how they respected themselves, how they understood like all is one, one is all. And they were warriors too. Like they would wake up and run like 15 miles in 15 degrees, 20 degrees freezing weather, jump in the river and have to run back. And like, that's how they would have to start their day. And it's the mental toughness, it's the psyche. And if you can overcome the elements like that, then you can essentially overcome anything that comes in your way. And that's one of the things that really stood out to me, is their philosophy on everything, like just like we talked about the mental psyche, but then also like the spiritual side and the physical side of everything that they did. So Elu, ELU, is a Native American term for beautiful. And, I believe that it's the Cherokee, but I'm not 100% sure. Like I've emailed like the Native American Institute, and I still haven't heard back from them, because I feel like I should probably know exactly the root origin of that term. But I do know that it is beautiful. That's what it stands for, Elu Method, because this is a beautiful life. Like we're the painter of our own of our life, man. We can paint what we want. We can create whatever it is that we want. It's like we're not victims. We can do these things. We have the power and the strength.
Well, what I love about what you just said there about the Native Americans, being very well balanced. They're intelligent, they're intuitive, they're warriors. It reminds me, I was just listening to a book, I think it's called Hard Times Create Strong Men. And it talks about, how back in the day, this is decades ago, maybe even centuries ago, the warriors were also philosophers, and the philosophers were also warriors. There was no, specialization in the sense of, oh, you're just an intellectual person or you're just a physical person. It was the integration of the two that made so many of these leaders so powerful. And that's what I always love about our conversations. We're talking about health, we're talking about fitness, we're talking about cryptocurrencies, we're talking about business, we're talking about spirituality. Like, it's the fully integrated human, and it's all the pieces of us. That I think that's what's so interesting when we have these conversations, is that, there's not like you're putting on your costume for when you're being businessmanly, and then you're putting on your costume for when you're being fitnessly. It's just Lee. They're just all fully integrated into one person. I think that's what is exciting, to be connecting with people like yourself, because you embody all of it under one roof, and just embody it as Lee, and not putting on all these different costumes to try to play a role in different scenarios.
Yeah. I mean, everything that I put out on social media is my brand. Just like everything you put out is your brand, and people don't realize, like, everything that they put out, where they realize it or not, they're branding themselves. What is it? If you got just whatever it is they want to do. If a girl wants to put in a guy, they want to put, a provocative picture out there, then that's their brand. That's the message that they're putting out there. What's the message behind that? Or maybe it's something like you and I, where it's I'll do a six-pack picture. I'll let the people know, but then also let the people know like how to do it. Like, hey, you can get this. This is totally possible for you, no matter where you're at in life. And it's your brand, everything that we put out. And that's what is really amazing in our times, like today, is that we have the capacity and the capability to reach the world. Like I have people messaging me from all over the world, and that's so meaningful, because it's about impact. Like, how can I impact people? How can I change your life? What is my message? What is my brand? So you're right. And it took years to build that strength. Strength, that's a mental muscle. That's the art of not giving a fuck. Like,
one of my favorite books. Love that book.
yeah, that's what that is. And when you have that type of power, man, you're unstoppable. Like, you are an unstoppable force. And there's nothing in the world that can stop you, because like you said, like you're just being true to yourself and your soul, and you're going to repel the people that don't like you, but you're going to attract the people that resonate with your vibe, your vibration. And then that's the impact, you know, and those people that you repel, they probably connect with somebody else, you know, and it's just fine, you know, because I'm not everybody's cup of tea. You're not everybody's cup of tea. It's just the world we live in, man. It's impossible to try to please every single human out there.
And I think there's a lot of beauty in that as well. Cause I think when I first started my business, I was trying to, appeal to everybody. But when you're trying to appeal to everybody, you end up appealing to nobody because nobody can relate to everybody. And it's kind of like this paradoxical mindset that it's like, if you're trying to just be the person that everybody likes, then yeah, maybe people like you on the surface level, but there's no depth to that. Because if you really want to be your true self, you can't please everybody. Because like you said, not everybody's going to like everything you say or everything you do, every piece of your philosophy. Same thing with me, same thing with anybody. So it comes down to just really finding that purpose, finding that passion, and just living that. And I think that's a big thing that, just seeing you on social media, like dude's just fucking happy. Dude's just living his life. Dude's just doing what he enjoys doing. And a big part of that is the strength side. You mentioned mental strength, building that mental strength muscle. But I'd love to kind of dive into the physical strength side, because I think that's something that, I lost a lot of strength, a lot of muscle over the past few years. And so I've been building that back up. And now that I've been starting to, really focus on strength training again, it reminded me, how much more confident I feel when I'm feeling stronger, how much, like you said, that meditation side of consistently moving. So I'd love to just kind of have you dive into, how do you define strength, and how can people start to, build physical strength in their bodies?
Yeah. Yeah. So I love strength because most people, they resonate with strength as like bench press. Yo, what do you bench press, man? All right, what's your leg press? What's your squat? But the actual definition of strength is neural adaptation times cross-sectional area. Okay, I'm going to repeat that because that can be a little bit confusing. It's neural adaptation times cross-sectional area. So what that actually means is it's a neural adaptation, right? Your central nervous system controls everything. So if you just understand the definition of strength, strength comes in many different forms. Strength can come in like, hey, we want to build the size of a muscle. It could come in, increase the flexibility, because that's an adaptation, right? It could come in your aerobic endurance, like now your diaphragm is more powerful. It can come in faster sprints. I can jump higher. I can breathe, like do Wim Hof breathing. And this is when it gets really fun. Now we can get into the minds when you create new neural adaptations, new neural connections within the brain, right? And there's so many different ways. And as a coach, this is when I geek out, because every client that I get is totally different. So I just kind of brief note version. So hypertrophy is like the building of muscle, the size. Most people stay in hypertrophy. Like bodybuilding, new age bodybuilding is pretty much all hypertrophy. Like that's all they want is big shoulders, big legs, big pecs, big ass, right? So outside of hypertrophy, there's many different ways of building strength. You have motor recruitment, like how many muscles can your body fire and grab at the same time? Like a gymnast. That's why gymnasts are so strong, because their nervous system literally works in unity. It works together. It's not working in isolation. Like bodybuilding, I'm just going to use this muscle. So neurologically, you're wiring this muscle. You're hardwiring it. And then you have, motor recruitment. How many muscles can I grab? You have intermuscular coordination, which is how many muscles can go in one direction. Like, so think a tug of war, right? So I'm pulling all in one direction. Then you have, I think, I just went blank on it, but it's intramuscular coordination, which is the muscles firing against each other. So now think about sprinting. When you sprint, your quad fires, your glutes fire, your hamstring fire, your muscles are all firing against each other, okay? Then you have the synchronization of these muscles working together. Then you have how quickly can they do these things together. So it's literally, it's an infinite amount of ways to develop strength. And that's why I started to integrate like what I enjoyed, because I just listened to my body. I started just having fun. Once I realized that nobody really knows everything and everybody's kind of guessing, like that's when it clicked for me. And it was like, I actually know more than you do. So why am I like following your shit? You know? So now that's when I created Elu Method. So like some of my sets, man, we'll talk about, here's an amazing set that I like to do for Elu Method would be a vertical press, a barbell overhead press, and a handstand push-up. They're literally the same pattern. Like they're literally both like this. But the difference is the resistance. Like one is an external weight, and then the other is a relative weight, which is my body weight, but they're the exact same pattern. But they're going to develop two different types of strength. You know, like the handstand push-up will 100% transfer over to the barbell overhead press, but that barbell overhead press does not translate over to the handstand push-up. But in my opinion, you should be able to do both. You should be able to control your body, and then you should be able to move some mass. You should be able to move weight too. Like you should absolutely be able to do both. And that's just when it gets so fun and exciting, because like you can integrate just about anything. And that's why Rob, having a program is so important. And it's more so injury prevention than it is to keep progressing. Like it's definitely both, but having a program is to make sure you don't injure yourself, because your nervous system is taxing itself. You know, that's why you hear a lot of these CrossFitters, their bones are getting more like brittle, they're hurting themselves because they're going 100 miles an hour 7 days a week. They're not actually working on and restoring that like psychological, allowing their body to restore itself, because they're just balls to the wall 24/7. And that's why they're getting hurt, because they're not recovering.
100%. Well, I love what you said there about integrating all these different types of movement together. And I feel like that's what intuitively I'm always drawn to. I mean, I was a swimmer in high school. You know, I played lacrosse, I played basketball. I love hiking. You know, I love the mace. I love all these odd, strength training objects in terms of traditional barbells, dumbbells. But then, like you said, sometimes it's nice to just throw up some weight. You know, sometimes it is fun. You know, it's nice to do some pull-ups, nice to do some dips, nice to do some shoulder presses, more the traditional side. I love doing handstands, cartwheels, all these little gymnastics type of moves. And after this, I'm just envisioning now where I'm going to do my handstand push-ups after we get off this
Hell yeah.
podcast. So you got me fired up to do those. But it's the integration of all of it. And that kind of comes back to like what we were talking about earlier, is fully integrating all the parts of ourselves. Because if you can, press 300 pounds above your head, like, cool, you're pretty freaking strong, but can you do one handstand push-up? To me, it's you want to have the balance of it all. And that's where, at one point I got so into yoga that I became like freaking Gumby. I could, bend over and, get my hands flat on the ground, but then I couldn't, push a lot of weight because my muscles were too loose. There wasn't that balance. It was like too much yin, not enough yang. And so it's really about integrating all these pieces together. And like you said, for people that are working out hard 100%, 7 days a week, that's all yang. If you're not given that time for recovery, like you said, eventually you're going to be breaking down your body. So that kind of leads me into the next point. You mentioned a program. And I think that's something that I have had resistance to over the years, because sometimes it's like because like I said, I like to do all these free flow things, and sometimes I felt contained within a program. It's like, oh, I don't want to do this today. I just want to go for a hike. I want to do X, Y, and Z. So I'd love to just have you share your philosophy around a program, the benefits of a program, and how do you, as a coach, how do you create a program based on someone's individual needs and goals?
Yeah, love this stuff, man. So my program is, I actually stole the template to the 1970s Soviet Union's gymnastics 12-month program. I stole it. Like I took their templates And then I just put all my stuff in there. But the point is like, you can almost do anything as long as you're allowing recovery. Like, that's what it's about. It's about getting the body like acquainted to particular movements. Like, so when you get into gymnastics specifically, especially if somebody's never done it, the main difference that separates gymnastics from like traditional weightlifting is connective tissue strength. You want to build your joints up, you need to body weight strength training. And that's just a fact. 100%, that's just a fact. You need to load it with your own body. And that's why with gymnastics or body weight strength training, there's a prep phase. Like, so for anybody out there that's really wanting to get into do some cool shit, like, and just take it to the next level, you need to prep yourself 2 weeks before you really even start. Like, you gotta give your body the information. So the body, it's movement is the language. Movement is the language. Force is communication. Like, that's direct communication. And movement, I guess, would be like body language. Like, that's how you're communicating with your body. But force is communication. I guess basically what I mean by that is, let's say somebody has carpal tunnel with their wrist because they're like this all the time. Like, they can move it and they're giving information to that, right, on that joint. But force, if you want to, you have to force the body to adapt. You have to force it to adapt to build that strength. So the force would be, it's kind of hard to, let me see if I can show you like this, but I would do like some type of like loaded wrist extension, like to force it, right? Like, you got to force it. That's the only way to do it. And there's one rule when it comes to strength training, all training, and that is to not exceed the load bearing capacity. That's the one rule. That's it. You can essentially do whatever you want, but if you exceed the load bearing capacity, that's where injury comes in, right? So my program is, I usually give people a few weeks to get adapted, a few weeks to like just put on muscle hypertrophy, right? Because there is truth that muscle is more injury prevention type stuff. And then 2 weeks of like, we're going to load the shit out of this and we're going to build some strength right now. And then 1 week deload. And a lot of people mess up with that deload. That deload is essential. That is when you give your body a full week off, or you hit like 1/3 of that total volume. So that's just a great guideline. If anybody is going to create their own program, whatever it is they want to do, there's no rules. There's one rule: don't exceed the load bearing capacity. It's the one rule. 2 weeks of kind of prep, like get your body used to a new movement, a new pattern, whatever it is. 2 weeks of hypertrophy, like just straight muscle building, like let those muscles protect your joints. And then 2 weeks of like actually beginning to load your joints and have confidence that your body can handle it. And that's it. And then take a week off. And a week off is either 1/3 volume or take a full week off. Like here's an example, Rob. Like when you go on vacation and then you come back and you don't train on vacation, how much stronger are you when you come back?
Oftentimes stronger because your body got time to rest.
You're way stronger, man. You're way stronger. Yeah, because your body is ready for that. And this is where it gets fun. Let's say somebody has like a competition of some sort. Let's say a powerlifting competition or CrossFit, whatever. So you want to time that lift. You want to train, overreach, let the body recover. And then when you want to actually perform, when it counts, like maybe you're getting paid to, be a CrossFit athlete, that's when you want to have like 1/3 of that volume that last week. And then you want to hit that at peak performance. And a lot of people mess up because they're like overreaching. All of a sudden they got to perform when it really counts. And their body's just not rested. It's just not ready.
Yeah, I forget which book I was reading. This was a couple of years ago, but I remember listening to this guy who was a marathon runner and talking about how he would smoke all the competition because he ran less. And everybody was like, oh, you're messing up. You're not running enough. And he'd take like something crazy. I want to say it was like a month off before the race. Like he'd really train and take like an extended amount of time where he'd run like a couple miles a day or something, kind of similar to what you're saying, but it seemed a lot more extreme. but it was something that he would just go and smoke the race because everybody else would be burnt out, and not only just physically burnt out, but like, adrenal fatigue, mentally burnt out. And it's just this whole mind, body, spirit that a lot of his competition was burnt out. And I think that it's a fine line though of resting enough and over resting, because I think it's easy to feel tired, fatigued when we're not moving. And a lot of times I find when I'm really tired, if I just go for a walk, just get my body moving, I'll actually get a lot more energy. It almost seems counterintuitive that it's like, well, if I'm tired, why would I be moving? But sometimes, like you said, maybe it's just moving with a third of the volume. Maybe it's just moving, going for a walk. Maybe it's just moving, doing, the same motion with bands or something just to get the blood flowing. So what is your philosophy around like active recovery?
Exactly what you just said. It's active recovery, man. And it's moving lightly. So active recovery, and I have these in my programs, I call it mobility strength on our deload weeks, where we focus on loaded mobility to challenge the body, but it's not like super taxing. Like, and we do a ton of stuff. Like, I would really love to show you guys, but we load it. So active recovery, let's say you have a hip problem, or maybe your hips are tight and you just went through 6 weeks of like hardcore training. Okay. Well, that deload week, this is when we're going to focus on like your hip that's really tight. Like, we probably need to stretch your hip flexor. We probably need to work on your adductors. The adductors are the fourth hamstring. People don't understand just how important the adductors actually are. And we need to work on some other stuff. So the active recovery is time to specify on what it is that you need, because we all have our imbalances. Like, every human on the face of the planet has some type of imbalance, especially your professional athletes. Let's say a golf player or a baseball player, they're literally swinging from one side, hundreds of thousands of reps more than likely, and that will absolutely create a massive imbalance. So they probably need to work on their other side to even that tension out within the body, and that'll help them out. That'll actually make them perform better because they're more balanced. So active recovery for me is, I prescribe it for my clients, and I give them some loaded mobility stuff, a lot of FRC stuff, functional range conditioning, which is like joints. But then if you want to be intuitive, most people intuitively know, hey man, my hamstrings are tight as shit. Like, I gotta stretch these things out, man. They're gonna give me some issues, Or maybe it's like, I can't lift my shoulder past here. Like, that's when you would intuitively need to allow space for yourself to be a little more yin, allow your body to recover, because that next week after that deload week, dude, you're back on, game on. And it's like, that week goes by fast. And I'll have clients, it's funny, because most of them are not used to deloads. So then whenever I prescribe them a deload, they're like, oh man, like, I want to lift. I'm like, no, you're not lifting this week. Like, you're doing this. Trust me. Like, you paid me. Like, trust me, this is what you're going to do. This is what you came for. And then by like the third day, they'll be like, dude, I'm loosening up so much more. I'm starting to feel so much better. Like, my hip feels good because we're getting like blood flow to the joints, to heal it, whatever's going on. So that would be my definition of active recovery. Is I focus a lot on joints when active recovery, gentle loading of the joints, whatever it is you need. Or if you want to be intuitive, like, just intuitively listen to yourself. What is it you need? Most people actually know that. They're just afraid to do it. Like, they don't want to do it because they know they're going to suck at it. And that's exactly why people should do it.
100%. We gotta dive into those areas of discomfort, because that's where the growth happens. And so we're talking about active recovery, and obviously a big piece of the pie when it comes to overall strength and fitness is nutrition. So I'd love to have you kind of share some of your ideas around eating. Obviously everybody is completely different. Maybe some of your favorite products, some of your favorite supplements. I know you're a big fan, like I am, of the Purium products. So what are some of your favorite products for performance?
Yeah. So essential amino acids. Number one, if you had like one thing to take with you and take it to the bank, it's going to be essential amino acids. straight up, because they are the building blocks of all cellular regeneration. Yeah, I take 5 to 10 grams of those a day. Like that is like, you want to build muscle, essential amino acids will do it. You want to run further, you want to increase your endurance, essential amino acids. Another one that I love is the Beets. Like I love those Beets, man. They can't beat this. Like that's incredible. So blood flow, just so people know, blood flow is like the king of mitigating inflammation. Like that's why moving is so important, because you're getting blood everywhere in your body. You want to mitigate some inflammation, you need to move. You need to move, like, because you're sitting, you're not moving, and we're made to move. We're literally made to move. We're not made to sit. Like every joint in the body requires some degree of rotation to be optimal. And what I mean by that is, this is not straight for the hands. Like you look at a textbook, they're going to like put your hand like that. Oh, that's straight for the hand. But that's actually not straight for the hand. This is actually straight for the hand. You see how everything is kind of like not straight? Like your whole body's like that. And that's why when you rest your hand, it naturally goes to that. And we could go head to toe on this stuff. Like I could take you a joint by joint and give you the most optimal position. So within caffeine, you know, I'm a big fan of a little bit of caffeine before you train. You know, maybe not 300 milligrams like I used to do when I was like 19 and just going there on freaking crack. I had some hella workouts, man. And now I'm older, I'm like toning that down for the adrenal fatigue. So training, you know, I like to keep it simple for people, because it's like, how much do you want to put into it? You know, because you could do creatine is another amazing one. I mean, I'm not a fan of BCAAs, but I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm going to fish oil. You know, fish oil is another amazing performance enhancing supplement. But if I had to pick like just a couple for people, one is the essential amino acids, 100%. And that's not even just for performance either. That's for everything. That's for like your cellular regeneration. Yep. And then I would go with the Beets because of the blood flow. Yeah. And then I'm really going to mind fuck some people here. If you really want to perform, you got to protect your sleep, because that's when your body is actually rebuilding itself. When you're working out, it's not rebuilding itself. It's rebuilding itself when you're sleeping. And there's nothing you could be Elon Musk, you could be the wealthiest person in the world, and there's no amount of money that is going to take the brain to regenerate itself when you're sleeping. There's nothing you can do. If you're not getting sleep, you're not recovering. That's going to impair your performance.
Love it, dude. Yeah. And that's something that I think is very important for people to recognize, that, you know, you're technically not getting stronger in the gym. You're getting stronger outside of the gym when you're recovering. And that could be sleeping. That could be, you know, massage. That could be stretching. That could be, like you said, getting that blood flow and allowing the body to heal itself. Because the body is a lot more intelligent than just this brain that we have, that we think we can outsmart our bodies with all these sleep hacks. You know, if I just take a nap, you know, I can just sleep for 4 hours, all these things that we can tell ourselves. And yeah, maybe you can get by, but if you really want to optimize your fitness, all the other pieces need to come together: your sleep, your nutrition, you know, your breathing. If you want to that was a big thing. I just finished my XPT performance breathing certification. And a big thing they talk about is, you know, nasal breathing. A lot of people are not breathing through the nose, and they're resting day to day. So they're constantly in that sympathetic nervous system, not allowing the body to really rest and repair. Because you could just be sitting there watching TV, but if you're breathing with your head forward and breathing through your mouth, and you're activating that sympathetic nervous system, but a lot of strain on the neck, causing inflammation, causing all these different things, that everything is so connected. And that's where I think, you know, the 6 foundation principles that Paul Chek talks about: moving, thinking, breathing, nutrition, hydration, sleep. You know, a lot of people just get stuck on the movement side when it comes to fitness, but it's all these pieces that work together. And kind of coming back to, you know, how we started, come a full circle here, fully integrating all the pieces of ourselves. Because if Lee is working out, but he doesn't like his job, he's thinking negative thoughts all the time, he's eating shitty food, if he's working at Applebee's, you know, all these different inputs that are not positive, Lee's performance is not going to be the best. And now seeing you now doing what you love, moving, fueling your body right, getting good sleep, being happy. You know, I remember you saying on a post recently, like, this is the best you've ever felt, and it's showing, because
Yeah.
you're fully integrated. All the pieces are coming into alignment, and it's pretty cool to watch, brother.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that. And this is something I'm a huge believer in. It's if people take care of themselves, the temple, the original temple, not the building temple, the temple, literally, this is the original temple right here. You take care of yourself, everything else falls in line after that. Like you want to increase financially, you need to go out and run in the morning. You want to, have better relationships, you need to go out and run in the morning. You need to do something. You start taking care of yourself physically, everything else will fall in line for you underneath that. And that's something I personally notice. That's something I've seen other people. And as I get older, I just believe it more and more and more. And you see the contrast of that. The people that don't take care of themselves, they're usually kind of angry. They're victims. They're mad. They have like terrible relationships with people. But the ones who move, they charge their body, they're happy, and neurochemicals are being released. Like we have so much depression now, like we can breathing, you can increase your own dopamine, serotonin through breathing. You can increase those through running. You can increase that through working out. Like you can do those things naturally. But unfortunately, this is the world we live in, is that people focus on the 2%. I consider supplements for the general person 2%, and I consider daily lifestyle the 98%. And most people focus on the 2%. Like, give me this fat burner, give me this pill. I got to be more productive. I need more energy. Like, give me this Adderall or whatever. Like, give me these things, when it's like, dude, why don't you just like listen to yourself? Like, go on a hike, go run. You don't do nothing crazy. 10 minutes will do enough, and then you'll be charged and you'll be just ready to rock and roll, and you conquer anything. So like, if people just take care of themselves, everything else is going to fall underneath that. And I promise it's going to be happier, and happy people are healthy people.
100%. And just like, again, coming full circle in the beginning, we talking about, people want instant gratification. People aren't usually willing to give it the X amount of time. And that's where the appeal of this quick fix pill comes in. But like you said, all these challenges that people are facing in the modern world, from depression to obesity to anxiety to diabetes to, cancer, to all these things, they're all a result of our lifestyle. And if we can make the commitment to, like you said, focus on the 98% of the picture, improving our lifestyle through the 6 foundation principles, everything else is going to fall into place. Maybe it's not going to fall into place this week. Maybe it's not going to fall into place this month or this year. But eventually, if you keep showing up, keep doing the right things, you're going to be healthier, you're going to be happier. And, I believe things are going to work themselves out. But sometimes we need some support. So that's where working with a coach like yourself, I think, can really support people, because, a lot of people just don't know where to start. It can be overwhelming. So where can people learn to work with you, follow along with what you're doing? Because obviously this has been an incredible conversation, and I think we could probably chat for 6 more hours. We've been going for a good while here already. So where can people get coached by you, work with you, get involved with what you're doing, and follow along with the cool stuff you're embarking on?
Yeah, so the best way to reach me, people can email me at info@leemaasen.com. And I got a weird last name. It's Maasen. So it's info@leemaasen.com. And all my handles are the same. It's going to be Lee Maasen. Like, follow me on Instagram, Lee Maasen. Shoot me a DM. You can go to YouTube. I'm on YouTube. Find me there. I don't know if you can message people on YouTube or not, but like, if you leave a comment, like, I'll definitely see it. Facebook, Lee Maasen, like, it's all the same. So if people really want to upgrade, they want to step it up, and they're like tired of like trying to figure it out themselves, because it takes a lot of work. I've been doing this, I'm 29 now. I've been training since I've been 15. Almost half my life I've been training. Just like I said, I take what works and I leave what don't. So people just want to accelerate their process, then work with me, or like do it on your own for 15 years. But which one's going to be faster? You can work with me, hire a professional, and somebody who actually knows what they're doing. What's crazy, man, is people now, what it takes to be a fitness professional now. You could literally go and spend a weekend and get a TRX certification. And I love TRX ropes. I love suspension training. But what I'm saying is you could have somebody that has no idea what they're doing, nothing at all. And they say, oh, I want to be a trainer. I want to be a coach. They go and spend like 2 days at a TRX workshop. And now all of a sudden they're like a master. And I'm like, nah, dude, not even close. They're not even in the ballpark, man. Right. Like I commend you for the direction you're going, because we need more coaches. We need more people to help people, because the world's getting more overweight, fatter, sadder. We need more people to be leaders in the industry and give people the truth. So long-winded there, but you can find just about anything at Lee Maasen, Maasen.
Love it, brother. Yeah, it's funny you say that with the training too, because when I did my Reiki training, my level 1 and 2, each of those level 1 and 2 were, it was either, I think it was 16 hours, so 2 8-hour days, maybe it's 2 10-hour days. It was decent amount, so like 30 to 40 hours for level 1 and 2. And so she was like one of the first descendants. Her husband was in the first descendant to the original Reiki teachers, from over East. And so, and then I see them everywhere else. Like you said, it's like, oh, you can do your Reiki 1 and 2 certification is 3-hour course. And it's just like, can you? Like, I don't think you can. It took me 3 hours to figure out even how this thing was working, and even to wrap my brain and my body around this type of thing. And then the other 30 hours were, putting it all together. So like you said, it's important for people to recognize that, not every certification is made the same. Not every trainer, every coach is the same. So really make sure you do some research, because I think that, I also think back to when I was in high school and got involved with some training. I remember one of the trainers, he was like, oh yeah, like doesn't matter what you eat for this, just go eat Burger King if you got to just get calories. And I remember thinking back on that, like, damn, like these are people telling me to go eat Burger King. Like that's a whole nother topic we can get into. But as you can see here, everybody, Lee walks the walk. He knows what he's doing. I mean, just check out the dude on Instagram. You'll see he's crushing life. So just follow along with what he's doing. I'm going to put all the links to tag along with Lee in the description box as well. I'll put some links to some of those products, like the beet juice, the aminos in the description box as well. And Lee will have a discount code there for you. So I'll put that in the description box. So everybody listening, thank you, brother Lee. Thanks for being here, my friend.
Hey, thanks for having me, Rob.
Yeah. So everybody, check them out. See you on the flip side. Have the best day ever. Talk to y'all soon.
Peace.
Hey, thanks for listening to this episode of the Whole Health with Rob Carney podcast with our guest, Lee Maasen. So, like I said, Lee's been a great friend. He's been a great inspiration. He's been a great business partner with the Pure Aim Health products. He walks the walk. He's someone that really knows his stuff, obviously, as you've been able to tell from here in the world of health and fitness. So, like I said, with the Pure Aim Health products, Lee has a discount code. You can use the discount code Elu Method to save $50 off of any purchase of $75 or more at iShopPureAim.com. Again, I'll put those links in the description here in the show notes. So don't worry about remembering that off the top of your head, but check out the description there. And like Lee said, there's a lot of great stuff we can utilize, like the amino acids that can't beat this. And I highly recommend, if you're really looking to take your fitness to the next level, go for the Holistic Fitness Pack by Pure Aim. That's a really good one that includes both those products. Basically double those products, getting some good protein powders, getting some good electrolytes, minerals, all the stuff you need to optimize your performance with the nutrition side of thing. But at the end of the day, you can get these products, you can do all the great workouts, but we got to really find balance in our lifestyle. So let's focus on getting the balance, and then these supplements are going to be the icing on the cake for you, taking it to the next level. So again, thank you for listening. You found this to be interesting. You found this to be valuable. You know somebody that could, really resonate with this and learn from this. Please share the podcast. That's how we really grow this and allow the time and space for me to have more conversations with great guests like Lee. Is by, supporting us, supporting the people that are doing this. And, that way we can continue to give value and everybody wins. So love you. Appreciate you. Share this up, like, subscribe, try out those products, and I'll talk to you soon.